The news spread across the galaxy like fire. On every planet, on every station, on every ship. Screens showed the same images. The Valori fleet in ruins. Human soldiers marching through the streets of Throne. And the emperor of the most powerful empire in the galaxy, bowing his head in surrender. No one could believe it at first. The Valori Empire had ruled for 3,000 years. They had conquered dozens of species. They had crushed every enemy who had ever challenged them. And now, in less than one day, a species that everyone thought was weak and primitive had brought them to their knees. On the planet of the Rithani, an ancient species with green skin and 6 eyes. The Council of Elders watched the broadcasts in stunned silence. They had traded with the Valori for centuries. They had feared them, respected them, obeyed them. How is this possible? One elder asked. The humans were nothing. They had no fleet, no technology, no power. Another elder shook his head slowly. It seems we were wrong. They were hiding, waiting, building. For what? The elder pointed at the screen, which showed human slaves being carried out of Valori buildings by soldiers. For that, they came for their people. Far across the galaxy, the Morden Empire watched with different eyes. They were a warrior species, proud and strong. They had often thought about conquering Earth for its resources. The humans had seemed like easy targets. Not anymore. General Vorn of the Morden stood in his war room and studied every piece of information about the battle. The human ships, the human tactics, the human determination. They crossed the entire galaxy, he said to his officers. They built a fleet in secret for 20 years. They planned every detail of this attack. And when they struck, they did not stop until the enemy was broken. Should we be worried, General? An officer asked. Our border is close to human space. Vorn thought for a long moment. We should be careful. Very careful. We have never done anything to anger the humans. Let us make sure it stays that way. He turned off the screen and walked out of the room. Behind him, his officers exchanged nervous glances. If the mighty Valori could fall, anyone could fall. On Earth, the celebration was unlike anything in human history. When the news came that the battle was won and the slaves were being freed, people poured into the streets. They laughed and cried and hugged strangers. They waved flags and sang songs. For the first time in 40 years, humans felt proud again. In the capital city, screens were set up in every public square, showing live footage from Throne. People watched as human soldiers walked through slave camps, opening doors and leading their brothers and sisters to freedom. Old women kissed the screens. Young children asked their parents what was happening. Those are our people, a mother told her son. They were taken from us long ago, but now they are coming home. The first ships carrying freed slaves arrived at Earth 3 weeks later. Fleet Commander Nari had stayed behind to oversee the evacuation. She had personally visited every slave camp, every prison, every house where humans had been kept. She had made sure no one was left behind. When her ship finally entered Earth orbit, she looked down at the blue planet and felt tears in her eyes for the first time since the war began. We did it, Admiral Taiho said beside her. We actually did it. Not yet, Nari replied. Not until the last slave is home. Not until the trials are finished. Not until the galaxy knows that this can never happen again. The trials began 1 month later. They were held on a neutral space station, broadcast to every planet in the galaxy. Valori leaders, generals, and officials stood before a court made up of multiple species. They faced charges of slavery, murder, and crimes against humanity. Nari sat in the audience and watched as the Emperor himself was brought forward. He was smaller than she had expected, his ancient body bent and weak. He no longer wore his crown or his royal clothes. He was just an old creature who had caused unimaginable suffering. Do you understand the charges against you? The judge asked. The emperor nodded. I understand. How do you plead? The emperor looked at the cameras, at the screens, showing his face to billions of beings across the galaxy. Then he looked at Nari. Their eyes met for a long moment. Guilty, he said quietly. I plead guilty. The courtroom erupted in noise. But Nari stayed silent. Guilty. The word meant nothing to the millions who had suffered. It could not bring back the dead. It could not heal the broken. But it was a start. The trials continued for months. Most Valori leaders were found guilty and sentenced to prison. Some were sentenced to death. The Valori Empire was forced to pay massive amounts of money to Earth. Money that would be used to help the freed slaves rebuild their lives. And across the galaxy, something changed. No more alien ships came near human space without permission. No more species talked about humans as weak or primitive. When humans walked through space stations, other beings moved out of their way. When human ships entered a system, local governments sent messages of friendship and peace. Fear, respect. Both words meant the same thing now when it came to humanity. Admiral Taiho retired 1 year after the war. He was tired, and he had seen enough fighting for one lifetime. On his last day in uniform, he visited the memorial that had been built on Earth's moon. It was a massive wall with the names of every human who had died as a slave to the Valori. 2 million names carved in stone. He walked along the wall slowly, reading the names: mothers, fathers, children, grandparents. Each name was a life stolen. A story ended too soon. At the end of the wall, he found a small stone bench. Nari was sitting there, looking at the names. I come here sometimes, she said without turning, to remember why we did what we did. Taiho sat beside her. Did we do the right thing? Killing so many? Nari was quiet for a long time. I do not know, she finally said. I know that we saved millions of our people. I know that no one will ever enslave humans again. But I also know that war is terrible, no matter the reason. She pointed at the wall. I do know this. Every name on that wall deserved to be saved. They deserved someone to fight for them. And we did. Maybe that is enough. Taiho nodded slowly. He thought about the little girl he had seen in the first footage, the one with the empty eyes. He had searched for her after the war. He had found her in a rehabilitation center, learning to smile again. She was going to school now. She had a family who loved her. She had a future. Yes, he said. Maybe that is enough. They sat together in silence as the stars turned above them. The galaxy was watching Earth now, waiting to see what humanity would do next. Would they conquer, like the Valori had? Would they seek revenge on those who had ignored their suffering? The answer came slowly, over years. Humanity did not conquer. They did not seek revenge. They simply lived their lives, explored space, and made it clear to everyone. We will be your friends if you treat us fairly. But if you hurt us, if you take our people, if you treat us like animals, we will come for you, and we will not stop until the job is done. The Valori Empire fell completely within 5 years. Without their fleet, without their leaders, without their wealth, they could not hold their territory. Other species they had conquered rose up and took back their worlds. The great empire that had ruled for 3,000 years faded into history, remembered only as a warning. Do not anger the humans. Do not hurt their families. Do not underestimate them, because when humans go to war, empires go silent. 6 hours after the battle began, it was over. The space around Throne was filled with broken ships and floating metal. The Valori fleet that had once been the pride of the Empire was now nothing but dust and fire. Their orbital stations were gone. Their defense platforms were silent. Their mighty armada had been reduced to scrap. Fleet Commander Nari stood on the bridge of the human flagship and looked at the destruction. She had lost 43 ships and 12,000 soldiers. It was a heavy price. But the Valori had lost everything. All enemy vessels have been destroyed or have surrendered, Admiral Taiho reported. The planet has no orbital defenses left. What about ground forces? Nari asked. They are waiting for orders. Our troops are ready to land. Nari nodded slowly. She had expected to feel something at this moment. Happiness, perhaps. Or relief. But she felt empty inside. The battle was won, but the war was not over yet. There were still millions of humans in chains below. Open a channel to the planet, she ordered. Maximum broadcast. I want every city to hear this. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, Commander. Nari stepped forward. Her voice was hard and cold. Attention, people of Throne. Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are gone. You have no way to stop us. I am giving you one chance and one chance only. She paused and let the silence stretch. Release every human slave immediately. Every single one. We will be landing troops to verify. If we find even one human still in chains, we will not be merciful. You have 2 hours. She cut the channel and turned to her officers. Prepare the landing forces. General Hana, you have command of the ground operation. General Hana saluted. We know where the main slave camps are. We will hit them all at once. My soldiers will not fail. Commander Sora stepped forward. My special forces will target the slave markets and private houses. We have information about where they keep the most valuable slaves. The children and young women. We will get them out first. Nari felt her heart tighten at those words. The children. The Valori treated human children like pets. They sold them to wealthy families as toys. The thought made her sick. Go, she said. Save our people. The landing began 30 minutes later. Thousands of human dropships fell from orbit like rain. They came down over cities and camps and farms. Valori soldiers tried to fight back, but they were no match for the human troops who poured out of the ships. General Hana led the attack on the largest slave camp. It was a massive complex in the mountains, holding over 50,000 humans. The Valori guards saw the dropships coming and tried to lock down the camp. But they were too slow. Human soldiers smashed through the gates. They cut down the guards with weapons and fists. They broke open the doors of the slave buildings and shouted in human languages. You are free. We are from Earth. You are free. The slaves could not believe it at first. They had been prisoners for so long that they had forgotten what hope felt like. But when they saw the human soldiers, when they saw the Earth flag on their uniforms, they began to cry. An old woman grabbed Hana's arm. Tears ran down her wrinkled face. Is it true? Is Earth really here? Hana knelt down and held the woman's hands. Yes, grandmother. Earth is here. We came for you. We came for all of you. Across the planet, similar scenes were happening. In the cities, Commander Sora's special forces burst into wealthy houses and freed the slaves inside. They found humans working as servants, as entertainers, as worse. They wrapped them in blankets and carried them to safety. In one house, Sora found a room full of children. 20 human children between the ages of 5 and 12. They were dressed in strange clothes and had fear in their eyes. When they saw Sora, they shrank back against the wall. It is okay, Sora said softly. She removed her helmet so they could see her human face. I am here to take you home. You are safe now. A little boy looked at her with wide eyes. Home? What is home? Sora felt tears burning in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. These children had been stolen so young that they did not even remember Earth. They did not know what freedom meant. Home is a place where no one will hurt you, she said. Home is where you belong. And I promise, you will see it soon. She ordered her soldiers to carry the children to the ships. Every one of them would be taken care of. Every one of them would be given a new life. In the capital city, the Valori Emperor watched the invasion from his palace. He was an ancient creature, over 500 years old, with skin like dried leather and eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. But he had never seen anything like this. His advisors ran around him in panic. His generals screamed into communication devices. His guards gripped their weapons with shaking hands. The mighty Valori Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, was crumbling in a single day. "Contact them," the Emperor finally said. His voice was tired and old. "Contact the human commander. Tell her I wish to speak." His advisors looked at him in shock. "Emperor, we cannot surrender to these primitives. The honor of the Empire is already destroyed," the Emperor interrupted. "Our fleet is gone. Our army is losing. If we continue fighting, they will kill us all. At least if we surrender, some of us might survive." The message was sent. Minutes later, Fleet Commander Nari appeared on the Emperor's screen. Her face was like stone. Her eyes showed no emotion. "Emperor," she said, "you wish to speak?" The Emperor bowed his head. It was the first time he had ever bowed to anyone. "I wish to discuss terms. We are prepared to surrender." "Terms?" Nari's voice was ice. "You think there will be terms? You stole 2 million of our people. You treated them like animals. You sold our children in markets. And now you want to negotiate?" The Emperor felt fear crawl up his spine. "Please, we will release all human slaves. We will pay whatever you ask. Just stop the killing." Nari leaned forward. "Release every human. Every single one. Bring them to designated locations where my soldiers can verify. Any human found still in captivity after sunrise tomorrow will result in the death of 100 Valori officials." The Emperor nodded quickly. Yes, it will be done. Your leaders will surrender themselves for trial. Every general, every governor, every official who played a part in the slave trade will answer for their crimes." "You want to put our leaders on trial?" "That is unthinkable." "Then keep fighting," Nari said coldly, "and we will take them by force, along with your palace and your crown." The Emperor went silent. He looked at the screen showing his burning cities, his broken fleet, his defeated army. He had no choice. "It will be done," he said quietly. "We surrender." Nari did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply nodded. "Smart choice. Now go give the orders." "And Emperor? If you try to deceive us, if you try to hide even one human slave, I will personally come to your palace and show you what human anger truly looks like." She cut the communication and stood in silence on her bridge. Around her, officers cheered and hugged each other. They had won. Against all odds, they had won. But Nari did not celebrate. She looked out the window at the planet below. Somewhere down there, human slaves were being freed at this very moment. Families were being reunited. Children were learning they would finally go home. That was the only victory that mattered. The Valori homeworld was called Throne. It was a beautiful planet with purple oceans and golden cities. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of the greatest empire in the galaxy. No enemy had ever touched its surface. No foreign ship had ever entered its space without permission. High Admiral Kren stood on the bridge of his command station in orbit. He was an old Valori with gray skin that had turned almost white with age. His forearms were thin but still strong. He had served the Empire for 200 years and had never known defeat. Today was a quiet day. The trade ships moved in and out of the system. The patrol vessels made their rounds. Everything was normal. Everything was peaceful. Then the alarms started screaming. "What is happening?" Kren demanded. A young officer at the sensor station looked at his screen with confusion. "Hi, Admiral. We are detecting energy signatures. Many of them. They appeared from nowhere." "How many?" The officer's face turned pale. 700. "No, wait. More are appearing. 800. 900. Kren walked to the main screen. What he saw made his old heart stop. The sky was filling with ships. Human ships. They were emerging from jump space in perfect formation, hundreds at a time. Their black and silver hulls reflected the light of the Valori sun. Their weapons were already charging. "Impossible," Kren whispered. "The humans only have a few hundred old ships. This cannot be real." But it was real. The human fleet spread across the sky like a dark cloud. At its center was the largest ship Kren had ever seen. It was 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons, and it moved forward with terrible purpose. On that ship, Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge and looked at the Valori homeworld. He felt no fear. He felt no doubt. He only felt a cold, burning anger that had been building for 20 years. "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies. I want every Valori to hear this." His communication officer pressed a button. "Channel open, Admiral." Taiho stepped forward. His voice was calm and steady. "Attention, Valori Empire. This is Admiral Taiho of the United Earth Fleet. For 40 years, you have been stealing our people. You have taken our families. You have made them slaves. You have treated them like animals." He paused and let his words sink in. "Today, that ends. We have come to take back what is ours. Release every human slave immediately. Surrender your leaders for judgment. If you refuse, we will destroy everything you have built." On the Valori command station, High Admiral Kren listened to the message with growing fear. But he was a soldier of the Empire. He would not show weakness. "Send response," he ordered. "Tell them they are fools. Tell them the Empire will crush them." The message was sent. Taiho received it and smiled grimly. "They refuse," he told Fleet Commander Nari, who stood beside him. "I expected nothing else," Nari said. "Begin the attack." Taiho turned to his crew. "All ships, this is the Admiral. Weapons free. Target the orbital defenses first, then the enemy fleet. Show no mercy." The human fleet moved forward like a wave of death. 700 capital ships opened fire at the same moment. Thousands of beams of light shot across space. They hit the Valori defense platforms and tore them apart like paper. High Admiral Kren watched in horror as his stations exploded one by one. "Return fire! All ships, return fire!" The Valori fleet tried to respond. Their ships launched missiles and fired their cannons. But their weapons were old. Their tactics were outdated. They had not fought a real war in centuries. The human shields absorbed the Valori attacks like they were nothing. The human ships did not even slow down. "Their shields," a Valori officer shouted. "Our weapons cannot break their shields." Kren felt something he had never felt before. True fear. The humans were not supposed to be this strong. They were supposed to be weak farmers from a small planet. Where had this fleet come from? How had they built it without anyone knowing? On the human flagship, Taiho watched the battle with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. The Valori were confused and scared. Their formation was breaking apart. Their commanders were panicking. "Second Fleet, move to position Delta," he ordered. "Cut off their retreat. Third Fleet, target their carrier ships. Do not let them launch fighters." Admiral Juno's voice came through the communication system. "Second Fleet moving now. We will have them surrounded in 10 minutes. The human ships worked together like parts of a machine. Every move was planned. Every attack was coordinated. The Valari had never seen anything like it. General Hannah watched from her troop carrier. The orbital defenses are almost gone. How soon can we land? Give us 30 more minutes, Taiho replied. We need to clear the sky first. Commander Sora's special forces were already preparing. Her soldiers checked their weapons and armor. They had trained for years for this moment. They knew exactly where the slave camps were. They knew the layout of every building. When they landed, they would move fast and free as many humans as possible. High Admiral Kren tried to organize his forces, but it was hopeless. Every order he gave was too slow. Every formation his ships tried to make was broken by human attacks. His proud fleet was being torn to pieces. High Admiral, an officer said, his voice shaking, we have lost 40% of our ships. The humans are pushing toward the planet. Kren looked at the screen. The human fleet was everywhere. Their black ships filled the sky like hungry wolves. And at the center, that massive flagship moved forward, its weapons firing without stopping. Contact the Emperor, Kren said. Tell him we need reinforcements. Tell him the situation is critical. But Kren knew the truth. No reinforcements would arrive in time. The closest Valori fleet was days away. By then, this battle would be over. On the human flagship, Nari watched the Valori ships burn. She felt no joy. She felt no pleasure. She only felt the cold satisfaction of justice being served. Commander, a sensor officer reported. Enemy fleet strength is now below 50%. Their formation has completely collapsed. Good, Nari said. Continue the attack. Do not let up until every enemy ship is destroyed or surrendered. She turned to Taiho. How long until we can contact the surface? Their communication network is almost down, Taiho said. A few more minutes. Nari nodded. She walked to the main screen and looked at the planet below. Somewhere down there, millions of humans were waiting. They did not know help was coming. They did not know that their long nightmare was about to end. Hold on, she whispered to them. We are almost there. The battle continued to rage around her. Explosions lit up space like fireworks. Valori ships broke apart and drifted into the darkness. Human ships pushed forward, unstoppable and unforgiving. High Admiral Kren stood on his burning command station and watched the end of everything he had known. The mighty Valori Empire, rulers of the galaxy for 3,000 years, was falling. And it was falling to the species they had treated as nothing more than cattle. How? He asked no one. How did this happen? But no one answered. There was only the sound of alarms, the flash of explosions, and the cold silence of defeat. The War Council room was deep inside Earth's moon. It had been built in secret, hidden from every satellite and scanner in the galaxy. The walls were thick metal. The doors were guarded by the best soldiers humanity had. And inside, the most powerful military leaders of Earth sat around a long black table. There were 12 of them. Admirals, generals, and commanders from every nation on Earth. They had put aside their old differences long ago. When the Valori started taking humans, the nations of Earth realized they had only one choice. Unite or die. Fleet Commander Nari stood at the head of the table. Behind her, a large screen showed a map of the galaxy. A red dot marked the Valori homeworld. It was far away, past dozens of star systems, deep in enemy territory. Thank you all for coming, Nari said. Her voice was calm but strong. I know some of you traveled far to be here. But what we discussed today will change the future of our species. Admiral Taiho sat to her right. Next to him was General Hana, the leader of Earth's ground forces. She was a small woman with gray hair and scars on her face. She had fought in many battles and had never lost. Across the table sat Admiral Juno, commander of the Second Fleet. He was young for his rank, only 40 years old, but his mind was sharp like a blade. Next to him was Commander Sora, who led the Special Forces. She rarely spoke, but when she did, everyone listened. "The plan is simple," Nari continued. She pressed a button, and the screen changed to show the Valori defense systems. We jumped directly to their homeworld with our full fleet. We attack fast and hard. We destroy their orbital defenses, eliminate their fleet, and secure the planet. Admiral Juno raised his hand. "Commander, the Valori have over 10,000 ships. We have 700. How do we win against those numbers?" Nari smiled. "Their 10,000 ships are spread across their empire. They have colonies on 200 worlds. They have enemies on their borders. At any given time, only about 2,000 ships guard the homeworld." She changed the image again. This time, it showed detailed information about Valori ships. "Their ships are old," she said. "Most of them were built over 100 years ago. They have not updated their weapons or shields in decades. Why would they? No one has challenged them in centuries. They have become lazy and confident." General Hannah nodded slowly. "And our ships?" "Our ships are new," Taiho answered. "Every weapon, every shield, every engine was built in the last 20 years using the best technology we could create. Our cannons fire twice as fast as theirs. Our shields are 3 times stronger. One of our cruisers can destroy 5 of their battleships." The room was quiet for a moment as the leaders thought about this. "Even so," Commander Sora said softly, 2,000 against 700 is still difficult. We will lose ships. We will lose people." "Yes," Nari agreed. "We will. I will not lie to you. This attack will cost us. Some of the people in this room may not come back. But the alternative is worse." She pressed another button. The screen showed the footage from the slave ship. The same footage Taiho had watched in his observation room. The room fell completely silent as they watched humans suffer in the Valori cargo hold. 40 years, Nari said. 40 years they have been doing this. They have taken over 2 million humans. 2 million of our people are slaves right now, working in their mines, serving in their houses, dying in their factories. General Hannah's hands gripped the edge of the table. Her knuckles turned white. The galaxy knows about this, Nari continued. Other species know, but no one helps us. The Valori are too powerful. Everyone is too afraid. If we want to save our people, we must save them ourselves. Admiral Juno leaned forward. What about after? Even if we win this battle, the Valori have allies. Other empires might attack Earth while our fleet is gone. That is why we must win completely, Nari said. We are not going to just defeat the Valori. We are going to destroy them so badly that no one in the galaxy will ever think about attacking Earth again. We will make an example of them. She walked around the table slowly, looking at each leader. For too long, humanity has been seen as weak. We are the new species, the young species, the species that hides on one small planet. Other races look at us and see easy targets. They see slaves waiting to be taken. Her voice grew harder. After this battle, they will see something different. They will see a species that does not forgive. They will see a species that does not forget. They will see a species that will cross the entire galaxy to punish anyone who hurts its children. Commander Sora nodded slowly. The message must be clear. It will be, Nari said. When we are done with the Valori, every empire in the galaxy will know. Humans are not to be touched. She returned to the head of the table and looked at the map of the galaxy. In 2 days we launch. Every ship we have. Every soldier who can fight. We will jump to Valori space, and we will not stop until every human slave is free, and every Valori leader has answered for their crimes. General Hannah stood up. Her chair scraped against the floor. My soldiers are ready. We have trained for this moment for 20 years. Give us the order, and we will take their planet street by street if we have to. Admiral Juno also stood. The second fleet is prepared. My crews know what they are fighting for. They will not fail. One by one, the other leaders rose from their seats. Each one declared their readiness. Each one swore to fight until victory or death. When they were all standing, Nari raised her fist to her chest in the old Earth. Salute, for Earth, she said. For Earth, they answered. Together, for our stolen children. For our stolen children. For humanity. For humanity. The room shook with their voices. 20 years of waiting, 20 years of building, 20 years of planning. It was all coming to an end. The war was about to begin. Nari looked at her commanders with pride. These were the best soldiers humanity had ever produced. They were smart, brave, and hungry for justice. With them leading the fleet, she knew they had a chance. Return to your ships, she ordered. Make final preparations. Say goodbye to your families. And then report to the jump point near Jupiter. In 48 hours, we begin the attack. The leaders saluted one final time and began to leave the room. Taiho stayed behind until only he and Nari remained. Do you think we can really win? He asked quietly. Nari walked to the screen and stared at the red dot marking the Valori homeworld. I think we have no choice, she said. Win or lose, we have to try. Our people are suffering. Every day we wait, more of them die in chains. I would rather die fighting than live knowing I did nothing. Taiho nodded. He understood. Every human understood. Then let us go make history, he said. They walked out of the room together, leaving the War Council chamber empty and silent. But the silence would not last long. Soon, the silence would be replaced by the sound of engines, the flash of weapons, and the screams of an empire learning that it had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Taiho stood alone in the dark observation room of his ship. The stars outside were quiet and cold, but the screen in front of him showed something that made his blood turn to ice. The footage was old. It came from a spy drone that had followed a Valori cargo ship for 3 months. The drone had recorded everything. And now, Taiho was watching it for the 5th time. Inside the alien cargo hold, there were humans. Thousands of them. Men, women, and children. They were packed together like animals. Their clothes were torn. Their faces were thin and tired. Many of them had marks on their skin from beatings. Some of them were not moving at all. Taiho watched a young boy cry for his mother. He watched an old man try to share his small piece of bread with a sick woman. He watched a girl, no older than 10, stare at the camera with empty eyes. She had given up hope. The Valori guards walked between the humans. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were black and showed no feeling. They kicked the humans who moved too slowly. They laughed when the humans cried. Taiho pressed his hand against the screen. His fingers touched the image of the crying boy. I am sorry, he whispered. I am so sorry we did not come sooner. The door behind him opened. A woman walked in. She was tall and strong, with short black hair and sharp eyes. Her uniform was dark blue with gold marks on the shoulders. This was Fleet Commander Nari, the highest military leader of Earth. She stood next to Taiho and looked at the screen. Her face did not change, but her hands became fists. How many? She asked. This ship alone carried 8,000, Taiho said. But there are hundreds of ships like this. Maybe thousands. They have been doing this for 40 years. Nari closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were hard like stone. 40 years, she repeated. 40 years they have been stealing our people. 40 years they have been treating humans like property. And the galaxy did nothing. Taiho nodded. The Valori Empire was one of the oldest and most powerful groups in the known galaxy. They had conquered dozens of species. They had built a civilization on the backs of slaves. And for 40 years, they had been quietly taking humans from the outer colonies. Earth had known about it. The governments had known. But they had been afraid. The Valori had 10,000 warships. Earth had only a few hundred old vessels. Fighting them would mean death for billions, so Earth had stayed quiet. Earth had pretended not to see. Earth had sacrificed its own children to avoid a war it could not win. But that was the old Earth. "Show me the fleet," Nari said. Teho pressed a button. The screen changed. Now it showed a view of space near Jupiter. And in that space, there were ships. Hundreds and hundreds of ships. They were black and silver, built for war. Their weapons were the most in human history. Their shields could stop anything the Valori had. 712 capital ships, Taiho said. 42,000 fighters. 300 troop carriers. And 2 planet crackers. Nari looked at the fleet. A small smile appeared on her face. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had finally trapped her prey. 20 years, she said. 20 years we built in secret. 20 years we hid our true strength. The Valori think we are weak farmers with simple ships. They have no idea what is coming. Taiho turned to face her. "Commander, when we attack, they will know we have been lying. Every species in the galaxy will know. They will fear us." "Good," Nari said. "Let them fear us. Fear is the only language the galaxy understands. We tried to be peaceful. We tried to be quiet. And they stole our children because of it. Never again." She walked closer to the screen and looked at the warships floating in the darkness. "My grandmother was taken," she said quietly. "I was 7 years old. I watched the Valori soldiers drag her from our home on Colony 12. She screamed my name. She reached for me. And then she was gone." Taiho said nothing. He knew many people with similar stories. Almost every human family had lost someone to the Valori raids. "I joined the military because of her," Nari continued. "I trained every day. I studied every battle in history. I climbed the ranks and made myself into a weapon. And now, finally, I have the power to do something." She turned to Taiho. Her eyes were burning with cold fire. "Admiral, in 3 days, we launched the attack. Every ship, every soldier, everything we have. We will jump directly to the Valori homeworld. We will destroy their fleet. We will free every human slave. And we will make them pay for every tear, every drop of blood, every life they stole from us." Taiho straightened his back and saluted. "The fleet is ready, Commander. The soldiers are ready. We have waited long enough." Nari returned the salute. "Gather the War Council. It is time to tell them the plan." She walked toward the door, then stopped. She looked back at the screen, which still showed the image of the slave ship. "Taiho," she said, "make sure every soldier sees this footage. Make sure they know what we are fighting for. When we reach the Valori homeworld, I want our people angry. I want them hungry for justice. I want them to remember every face on that screen." "Yes, Commander," Taiho said. Nari left the room. Taiho stayed behind for a moment. He looked at the footage one more time. The little girl with the empty eyes stared back at him. "Hold on," he said to her image. "We are coming. All of humanity is coming. And when we arrive, the Valori will learn what happens when you hurt our people." He turned off the screen and walked out of the room. Behind him, the stars continued to shine, cold and silent. But they would not be silent for long. The drums of war were beating. And soon, the galaxy would hear them.